Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We are one match into the Europa League, and as far as I make it, we're bang on track. We've got a point away from home to Red Star Belgrade, in a game that, I think when we've seen it actually unfold and, we really got a real feel of the opposition, certainly feels like a game that we could have done a little bit better in. It feels like a game that, really, my feelings watching the game is it wasn't really that too dissimilar to like a derby match or something like that. Very much a team not to be too scared of that did pose some threats, don't get me wrong, but certainly a game, despite the hostile atmosphere being away from home, we were very much in and very much could have won this at an absolute canter. Sadly, we didn't. And a lot of talking points in this game as well, from the team that started to the team that finished the game and everything else in between. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And of course, guys, in this one, jump into the comment section and let me know about your thoughts, feelings, your main takeaways from this one, because we had a few unexpected heroes rise up to the occasion, step up to the mark, as it were, as well as some players just not really grasping the opportunity. So plenty to get stuck into in this one. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it, because this is I've adjusted it. This is the teams that actually started the game, and I think from the preview that we did here on the channel, we pretty much nailed the starting 11. The whole Donovan Ralston thing was a real coin toss for me, and after hearing Brendan Rodgers pre-match, it was abundantly clear it was going to be Colby Donovan. And for me, he's probably the best player to start with, because he, for me, was the hero of the day. Colby Donovan, in his first two matches so far, and I've got to say, like, on this channel, one of the things that we've had, I would say, a privilege to do here on the channel is follow the Celtic B team when they were in Youth Champions League. And last season, Colby Donovan was one of those quiet standouts that got a mention in almost every video. Is just looking like, when you looked at the other teams that we were playing and they're like top youth players, what sort of qualities and, etc., etc., how do you compare and contrast them? And he was just always quietly, like, never get mugged off, was always cool, calm and collected, did the right thing for the team, and played the position in the system fantastically well. And this is exactly what we've seen in this game. Colby Donovan, so we kind of need to go around the houses to kind of set the thing up here, because as you can see, the way the team is at the moment, this is really the game state for the majority of the for the first half, I beg your pardon, where we really had like an attacking five and a defensive five. And the way that they set up to kind of combat that is like we expected. They had that kind of block in midfield in front of the back four. And then, depending on the front players that they started, they basically, the ones they ended up starting took up these positions. The boy Iheanacho was a live wire all the way through the game, and particularly in the first half, was a hard guy to pin down. He had real license to roam and move around the pitch in this game, and was one of the real threats for us. Radonjic, who we'd highlighted in the pre-match, played the first 45, and him versus Tierney was one of the jewels of the first half, and it was great to see Tierney really, keep him quiet for the most part. He certainly wasn't, out the game, but Tierney had him for the most part. But the boy Iheanacho was a live wire. It was hard to keep track of, and you really felt that there was, in the first half, Arnautovic versus Vickers, and Arnautovic later on versus Scales became like a bit of a subplot in the game, because Arnautovic is a tank, and our centre-backs definitely will fancy themselves in those 1v1 kind of, brawl duel kind of situations, and that was a fun kind of thing to see, along with Duarte, who has been preferred for them in Europe, kind of filling in the front four here. And the reason we kind of need to set this up, first of all, is because what Donovan has been asked to do, or the whole defence has been asked to do, is play out from the back. In the first half, we had a lot of the ball. We actually had a lot of territory on the pitch as well, where really, for the most part, like I mentioned, this wasn't too dissimilar to playing Rangers, or even maybe like your Hibs and your Hearts. These teams that know that they're going to be subservient to us in the game, but are very much here to win or try and get something from it. This is really the only area in the first half where a lot of the play, when we're in possession of the ball, was actually, in the pitch here, if you think about it in this context, is a lot smaller. It's a lot harder to get space on the ball, and you need to be a bit braver on the ball as well. And, Carter Vickers, to his credit in this game, I thought there was a few moments in this match where he actually tried to fizz the ball straight into Negren on a few occasions. And it worked out quite well, as well as trying to, skip out McGregor. I really did feel that, building off the back of some of the evolutions we've seen in the Partick Thistle game, there was a real heavy rotation in the midfield. We maybe felt it with McGregor more in the second half, but the byproduct of that could be, and has been, that the rest of the defence don't have this compulsion, don't have this, inherent need to always go through McGregor to progress, where we're looking for other players in different positions, which was great. The problem we had for the most part is that everything was far too static. Negren and Hatate were always like goal side, so if you think about like where their goal is versus the ball, they were both goal side of the other midfield, and it felt like, especially like from kickoff, that they had three and we had three, like man for man, in the middle of the pitch. And when Hatate and Negren are trying to be a bit more offensive and give some space in this middle area, so that the likes of McGregor, Scales, Tierney, Donovan, etc. can try, because there's only 4 guys here, there's 5 of them, they should be able to use the ball well enough to maybe carve some space, get some openings, and then move forward. And then can someone pop into space, make something happen, and yada yada from there. And the best player at doing this was Colby Donovan. Now, Colby Donovan in this game, like at right back, you're asked to do a few different things, of course, defensively, protect your area, make sure your man is taken care of, but also as we are attacking, try and close this gap. If I grab this section of players here and just move them up, and I'm not going to move the green thing, you can just imagine that's moved up if you want, okay? But you're trying to make sure that you can take the pitch and put them into their own half. And the link-up play that we got from Negren and Donovan was really a key feature all the way through this game. Again, a lot more so in the second half, just the way that, the chances were created, etc. But this, Donovan all the way through this game, if Iheanacho was dropping in and switching over to the other side or doubling up on one side, Donovan was coming right into the middle of the pitch just to close that area to make sure that any numerical advantage they might have over on the left wouldn't really be felt in the middle if Hatate had to come out here or McGregor are the same. And he just made it extra compact for us, and he was really, really clever in his off-the-ball positioning. But his passing is always so direct, and he's always looking to go forward, and he never let his man get the better of him as well. Anytime Iheanacho was in here, Iheanacho was getting his joy coming inside and moving the ball. And, a big feature of their method of attack in this game was crossing from the wide areas into a box with maybe 2 or 3 defenders and 1 or 2 attackers and trying to make something from it. And I think in all these different types of situations, it ricochets off the back of him for one of their better chances in the first half, you might remember. But the size of the guy as well, he's a very effective, like when you think about the ball, when you think about this type of position with the ball over here, he's very effective at just being like a good centre-back, to the same sort of level that, you maybe see Ralston do. And even, if you want an ace and stuff like that, the likes of Scales and whatever, where he can win his duels in the air, he sticks to his man, he doesn't really give anything easy away, and it will need to be something really good to get the better of him. And I guess that kind of brings me into talking about Ben Negren a little bit as well, because him and Hatate have both come in for, from what I've seen certainly anyway, a lot of criticism in the aftermath of the game. And honestly, Ben Negren for me is like, see if this guy had like a blonde mohawk or something like that, I think people's opinion of him would totally change. I don't know what it is, but this guy covers every blade of grass on the pitch. He tackles every player, he passes to every player. Yeah, the odd pass isn't bloody pitch perfect and it doesn't always come off, but I think you've seen how effective, particularly in the second half, his final third play can be. And when you think about, and I've got the heat map for Nygren, it should be on screen for you at the moment. Now, he's missed an absolute sitter in this game. Yeah, do we call it a sitter? I think we should. It's a big chance. It's a huge chance. And this is the sort of chance that someone like Nygren has to be taken. We've seen him take these chances already at Celtic. It was straight off the training ground. And by the way, the chance itself was absolutely beautiful, because you know where it starts, don't you? It starts with Scaldini chipping a ball over the top. Now, Scales plays these passes often enough domestically. They don't always come off, granted. He's not fantastic at them, but he does try them, and a few of them do come off from time to time. And this is one of the occasions where it does come off. Tierney breaks the offside trap, gets down on the overlap here, and we didn't get too much of this from Tierney, but when he does, it's going to come off. Something's going to come of it. Tierney is just too good in these zones here. And obviously this is in the second half, so by this time Iheanacho's on, but when Negren walks onto it at the edge of the box, that really should have... yeah, that is the second half, isn't it? Really should be a goal. He really should have what really got us in front at that point. And, I think he played very well in this game, but I can see where criticism comes in the sense of, like, any of the times where he did give away a foul or he did lose the ball, etc. But I do think it's rather harsh because, again, like, the guy was absolutely everywhere. Yang in this game was... Do you know what? One thing, again, I'm sorry I'm a little bit over the place. I'll try and get kind of coherent as quickly as I can, right? But one thing that I did find quite frustrating, particularly in the first half, when we were like being goal side of their defensive midfield and making it really hard for our defence to play out from the back, is that we didn't try and do something a little bit different with the wingers, like we just showed with Iheanacho. You know, you need to, when you've got like a solid structure, it always pays off to have someone that's just going to break the rule and go and double up somewhere, or just, you know, do something different. Quite similar to what we've seen Donovan do throughout the game. And, you know, even that Tierney overlap we just spoke about maybe comes into that category. But So Young-woo is one of their best players, is a very easy to identify player from scouting the team. And, you know, this is a guy that was a big surprise in the K-League in Korea when he didn't move to a team in like the Bundesliga or something like that. Very, very highly regarded. And moving to Red Star was a bit of a shock. Him and Yang are pals, you know. They might have seen some of the dead ball situations. They were sharing a bottle of water and having a wee chat or whatever. But why didn't we at some points maybe double up on one side or swap wings or do something a little bit different like that, just to try and pick the lock, just to kind of try and force the issue, because it was quite clear that they were doing it. And if we could either just go on the same side that they were doubling up on and just, you know, do something a bit different in essence. And, you know, like, there's an argument to say we were doing that, and it was Nygren that was doing it, because Nygren, again, popped up all over the pitch. Now, I think Hatate as well is getting a really harsh time from, again, just what I'm hearing and seeing in and around the place in the aftermath of the game. Hatate, nothing, this is the thing with Reo Hatate, right? This is the exact type of game he plays all the time. The only difference in some of them is he scores or assists and he doesn't, really, you know, because he was, again, everywhere in this game. Now, again, the success rate, the amount of times throw-ins, you know, I get it, right? He was in this position a little bit too often. He was good when he got ball side of his man. And we did see some nice play, and we did see some nice rotation in the midfield. McGregor, as the game went on, appeared in more and more attacking areas, which was a lovely development to see from last week as well. But Hatate was everywhere. There's moments in this game where we're counter-attacking with like Tuneki down the left, and, you know, we've got Dyson through the middle, or Iheanacho if it's in the second half, and Hatate is just head down, sprinting, you know, and that's the hardest thing to do in football in these moments. It's just empty it. Keep running when the team needs you the most, and it didn't come off every time for him, and I think that's the only criticism you can really give the guy, is he has to be better there, you know. But anything else, like, I just don't get it, because he does everything. He picks the ball up in tight areas, he tries to make things happen, he's defending, he's attacking, he's supporting the press and giving their defence a real hard time, which, you know, we had some glimpses of early on, but I don't know why we didn't do better with this in the first half. It was a wee bit of, you know, were they playing through as easy? Was the press not really that great? Was Dyson? And again, if you think about the positions we've got a lot of these players in the first half, Dyson was just buried in amongst this area here. And there was a few occasions where he would drop in deep to try and do that 1-2 touch and then get the play going and run forward again. But it just never ever really materialised for him in the first half. And I think then, as we think about the game as it rolls on, they take off for Doncic for their boy Milson, and we take off Dyson for Iheanacho at half time. Okay, now I think this was a fantastic move. I think everyone is in full agreement, and everyone kind of read it. Like, Dyson was getting caught offside, which everyone's kind of holding against him. There was one of them that really, they should have let the play go on. You know, it was at the edge of the box. It was a very tight one. And, you know, if it's a goal, you then VAR it. You know, they're told to keep their flag down. And I know there's been a bit of fight back towards that, but I think that's for the obvious ones, isn't it? Whereas those really tight ones, let the play go on till something happens and then you VAR it, you know, for the most part. So I didn't like one of the offsides. I felt that way about, but it was obvious that we just weren't connecting. We just weren't really getting shots away. We weren't really finding some great opportunities in the first half. And second half, I thought, was a fantastic step up and trip from us in terms of, it felt like, you know, and what happened with Dyson in the game and when the substitution happened, like, who cares at this point, right? But the fact, it felt like, you know, there was a clear, with the rest of the team, a shift up second half, right? Okay, first half's done, no mistakes were made, we're level. Second half, let's play to win. Let's go for it. Let's push the envelope a little bit more. Let's try and make something happen. And Iheanacho, Negren, Tuneki, the link up between these three guys already, you can probably keep Donovan in the conversation as well here, is the absolute cliche of good players can play together. Because the one thing Iheanacho gives all of these other players that Ida doesn't, Dyson doesn't, etc., is tried and tested, battle scars, got the miles on the clock, striker. A guy that, you know, at his age, 28, 29, whatever he is right now, is a striker, you know. If you think about this guy, Taneke, Negren, Yang, all these guys as kids in the teams that they've played in before coming to Celtic, very likely they've had a much more typical striker, a guy that will take the ball into feet, that can play passes. And by the way, like, Iheanacho is turned into the best version of himself, it feels like. And wow, is that exactly what we've needed? Because we've not had a presence like that at centre forward since Moussa Dembele. Maybe Odsonne Edouard, but I don't think Edouard was quite that prototype number 9 strikery striker. You know, left foot, right foot, header. You know, can run the chat. And, you know, Dembele and Iheanacho, they're maybe not like lightning, but they're still like over 10-15 yards. They're as quick as you need them. And I would say the same about Negren, who again isn't rapid, but over 10 yards, over 15 yards. He's pretty much as quick as you want him on the ball, because he is on the ball in those situations, isn't he, I guess. And, you know, the Iheanacho substitution really just felt like it brought the team together, and it just gave us much more of the cliche, the focal point. I get that kind of thing as well, but it just felt like a confidence. It felt like, by comparison, we were a man down, and it has felt that way before with not necessarily Dyson up front, but certainly Kyogo in the past, where when you're playing with that mega press forward, that finisher, that guy it's meant to get on the end of mistakes and just make it really difficult for the opposition, it makes it harder to get through these banks, to get through these lines on the pitch. Even with the pitch being like halved, you know, we're putting them into their own half. This player is then getting buried, and any ball that comes into the box, they need to have that instinct of knowing where is the right place to be. And Iheanacho's chance that he just misses from Negren's cross as soon as he comes into the game is a great example, again, of what I'm saying. Good players can play together. Negren gets on that pass, which comes from Colby Donovan, by the way. And Iheanacho's in the right place at the right time, makes a good connection, and it's just a wee bit too close to the keeper, him and the ball, and, you know, the keeper manages to get something on it, which is fine. And we get the same with Taneke down the left, we get the same with Tierney down the left as well, where it's just a bit more like we've got a striker to play with. And it really does give us maybe a can of worms issue further down the road in some ways. But we score, you know, Negren comes inside again, and I think at this point, you can maybe see McGregor telling Negren or Donovan, again, however this ball gets made, to be passing the ball back, and they just go forward with it, which is fantastic, that there is just a bit more agency from the person on the ball to, no, we're going forward here, there's space, here's an opportunity. And what Iheanacho does here, the 2-touch finish, the first touch to set himself up, to shift his body, reposition himself, and Negren tried to do this with his chance, didn't he? But he just didn't get enough swerve on it, didn't place it too far enough into the goal frame. But Iheanacho just gets perfect connection, perfect body shape, everything, and that's what we want from that player. So absolute beauty. They equalise through Arnautovic at the set piece, which, you know, we don't really need to get into. I don't think it is what it is. We then take off Yang for Forest and Hatate for Engels, right? Now, like I say, Hatate didn't give us anything in the game in terms of actual end product, okay? And I think that is kind of just where it is with Hatate. So at that point in the game when it's 1 each, Engels is bursting to do something. Engels is really chapping at the bit to get something going this season. And, you know, when he came on, I really do think for Hatate's off form. There's just no getting away from it. He doesn't have that end product, that final touch right now. Engels and Nygren, I think, because Engels wants to play on this left side of the three. We've not really had an Engels and Nygren situation, and I think this might be the combination that works maybe going forward for us. And Forrest, I thought it was a bit early to bring him on. Yang had gone really quiet in the game, didn't really give us anything ultimately anyway, except for like a good bit of tenacity and all the rest of it. But when Forrest came on, you seen that seasoned vet, that seasoned pro coming on. Like, he knows the script here, he's been there, seen it, done it in these types of venues and in much harsher conditions. This guy Tiknaz, the left back, was, you know, like, again, it could be playing in the SPFL for any number of teams. It wasn't any big shakes. And Forrest was, this is where you want James Forrest. You want him coming on 20 minutes in a game, 25 minutes, and really like empty it. Give us absolutely everything. Buy us every inch up the pitch he can, because he can just dance up the line so well. And when we do get into attack, make it count. You know, Forrest is fantastic for that and really gave us a new dimension into the game. And, you know, brilliant. I did think it was a bit early for him, but I think that was that paid off very, very well. And Engels coming on, I did really hope for a little bit more. Arnautovic shortly leaves for Katai, who's one of the guys we previewed, and Taneke comes off for Balikwisha. And again, very similar to Engels, I'm really waiting for Balikwisha to give us something. You know, Mickey is a player that really should be a great Celtic player. And I think in all the little minutes we've seen so far, including this game, he's got a great amount of tenacity. But it feels like he's kind of playing his own game in a sense of like it feels like he's trying to psych out the opposition and him looking like he's walking about, not really like clicked into the team or whatever. Then he like wants to come to life quite quickly. Him and Engels are obviously buddies, you can see that, and I think the training warm-up videos coming into this game and all the other, they seem to be together quite a lot, the two Belgians. And I know Balikwisha is now nationalised for Congo or whatever. But Engels gets a lovely chance to slip Balikwisha through. It doesn't quite come off. And, you know, Engels has got a bit more muscle, a bit more, like, even if he's doing the same thing as Hatate, like covering the pitch, interacting with all the players for better or for worse, tackling and passing and whatever, the thing we need is the end product. We need that range of passing, we need that final touch, that shot, whatever it's going to be. And yeah, he just didn't really give us too much of that. But I do think maybe if he had more time in the game, maybe a little bit earlier, like we've seen the Maeda substitution happen quite quickly. If Engels could have maybe come on, and I know there wasn't much time of a difference really, but before Red Star score, you just wonder if it maybe just changes the dynamic and it's a bit of a butterfly effect kind of effect, and maybe the game goes out a little bit differently. And then the final substitution we had of the game was Tierney for Sriracha. Now Sriracha for me, guys, Sriracha's a legend. I thought he did brilliant. He took no prisoners in this game. He defended like a hero, and you know he maybe didn't have enough time to really like go forward and support Balikwisha or anything like that. But yeah, I thought he did great, and you know, I really like the guy. I really do. Like, if he's happy to do this job with Tierney for as long as Tierney's here, sign him up, man. I quite like him from everything I've seen. And the chances came in. You know, there was a really good, like, probably right before the substitutions came in, there was like 3 chances. One of them was the goal, obviously. And you know, this is a game that we leave 1-1 draw. I think most people can kind of accept that for the most part as being a fair result and a good representation of the game as a whole. And if we look at the player ratings, there's really not really too much dissimilar. No one in their team really stood up in a big way. Their goalkeeper has obviously done very, very well. And for our team, especially from the ones who started, nobody, like, maybe Tuneki is the only player I've not really spoke about too much there on the tactics board, but I do think So Young-woo is clearly the best player he's played against in a Celtic shirt so far. And it would have been nice to see him swap sides, maybe get a glimpse of him on the right for 10 minutes, put Yang against his countryman and maybe try and get a bit more change out that side of the pitch earlier on. And Tuneki did better as the game went on, with some of the chances that he was involved in, etc. But yeah, he maybe didn't give as much as maybe was expected in pre-match. Now, I'm not going to go through the player ratings in too much detail because, as you can see, there are not really that much positives going on them. I do think Donovan's but is a little bit misleading compared to the eye test, what we actually seen. Of these possession loss, these are going to be throw-ins and clearances, things that he's doing just to make sure we're not conceding bad chances. 9 successful final third passes. He had a shot on goal, 2 dribbles won, 5 balls played into the box. And he's been credited, in fact, with a big chance missed. Why don't I remember that? He's blocked 2 crosses, he's won 2 tackles. Duels, he's won 6, lost 5. A positive of 1, but 1-6 duels is an effective number, a meaningful number, I would say, certainly. So very much is probably, I would give Nygren probably just about man of the match. I think the assist and his overall 90-minute play justifies it, but I think Donovan is like neck and neck with him. He was fouled, he won his 1 free kick, lost possession 16 times, the same as Donovan, same duel success rate as Donovan. No missed passes from the looks of things. 10 of them were in the final third. He did lose the ball once or twice, but I think that was more like lost through duels and stuff like that, or ricochets rather than like passes, like clearances, that kind of thing. 2 shots on goal, 2 contests won, which were like dribbles, 1 big chance missed, which I think we'd all agree with, and 6 balls into the box. Negren's distribution from free kicks was quite nice in this game, and this is probably one of those matches I would categorise alongside Bruges and Zagreb, where if we've got a centre-half that can score from a header, we get the points here, you know, and that's a weapon in our arsenal that we don't have. That these tight matches, Carter Vickers had a great chance. Sadly, he's not taking it. He's not really a goal-scoring centre-back, is he? Scales got a great one against Thistle and maybe has that desire for it without having overall that natural gift for it, you know, like some guys do. But yeah, Yang got a decent score. A few dribbles won. Some balls into the final third and things like that. Intercepting, winning a nice amount of duels. Fair play. And if we look at the bench, Iheanacho comes off the bench, gets his goal, obviously. Outside of that, he also gets 2 big chances missed on this one. So 3 shots on target. Could have had a hat-trick, you know, quite simply for himself. And this one, Arnie Engels in this game, how did he trap? 1 ball into the box. Yeah, didn't really do too much overall contribution was minimal. Same with Mickey Balikwisha, just minimal contribution, just not really actively contributing to the result. And Sarachi here gets a negative score for his short time on the pitch, which will just be interesting to look at. But he get booked, he fouled, like fair enough. That's what you want your Uruguayan defender to be doing. 3 effective clearances, won a duel and lost a duel, a couple of passes, and yeah, nothing else to really write home about. I say there's not too much here on the stats, and you know, really, who cares about them? Now, in my Europa League preview, I had this game down as a draw. Now, when we did the match preview, I got a little bit more optimistic and I went with a Celtic win. But we're right bang on track. We're par for the course. The next game we've got is Braga on the pre-Europa League preview thing, which will be on screen now. In case you missed it, you can catch it now. I'm pretty sure I've got us to win Braga at home. I can't remember, but I'm pretty certain of that. And yeah, if you've missed that, feel free to check it out to have a glimpse ahead to what's on for the Europa League. In that video, feel free to let me know, especially now that we've got up and running in the Europa League, how many points do you think we're going to get in this campaign? Of course, in the comment section down below. Leave your thoughts and feelings on this match. Like, subscribe, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. Hail, hail, Moan the Hoops.